Now, repatriation flights for German tourists will begin soon with South African Airways. And for more on this and details of how this will unfold, we speak now to the German ambassador to South Africa, Martin Schäfer. Ambassador Schäfer, good morning and thanks for speaking to us here on Morning Live.
Good morning to you and to your listeners.
Ambassador, can we first just try and establish how many German tourists are currently in South Africa and how many you are expected to repatriate at this stage?
Well, it's not really easy to find out because of the structure of South African tourism. We have 360,000 Germans a year in South Africa. That's a huge number, and any given time during the year, probably there's between 15 and 20,000 Germans in the country. Now, we have started a program where people can put themselves in lists to say whether they want to be repatriated or not. And the latest figures indicate to us that we are between 7,000 and 9,000, which is a huge number and a huge challenge for all of us.
So you're expected to repatriate between 7,000 and 9,000. I'm just trying to get that correct.
I think that's absolutely correct. And you see, this is a global cataclysm that we are living now, and everybody is frightened, everybody is anxious, and all over the world, health authorities and governments are struggling to cope with this. But it gets worse when you're not home, when you're not close to your family and friends, and that is why we not only in South Africa but worldwide took the decision to have a huge program of repatriation across the world, and now it's the turn of South Africa.
So, Ambassador Schäfer, between 7,000 and 9,000 people, that's quite a huge number. That will be quite an operation. So how are you planning to roll this out? Because are you going to have some criteria as to who you go for first, etc.?
Well, first of all, our plan had been that most of our German citizens would be flown home through regular flights, because there's a lot of links between Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and South Africa, in Cape Town and in Johannesburg. But when the decision was taken last week that lockdown also means a close down of all the regular flights, we needed to make a new plan. And the rules and regulations on air traffic are very difficult and are very cumbersome, in the sense that AXA, the company in South Africa that runs airports, has decided to close down. And the South African government has decided, for reasons of infection control, that crews coming in from airlines outside of South Africa are not allowed to disembark in South Africa, which poses huge problems in terms of the logistics. So a couple of days ago, we decided to try it the other way around and not have charter companies or Lufthansa or other companies fly into South Africa to bring our citizens out of the country, but to do it in the other way around. And that is why we approached, with the help of the South African government, South African Airways. South African Airways was willing to step in, is willing to help, and we are in very intensive negotiations at the moment. Negotiations is the wrong word. In talks with South African Airways, because we decided, both of us, that we want to do that together, that we are in this together, how we are going to make sure that those flights can start, hopefully at the end of the week. But there's a lot of challenges and issues and logistics still to be sorted out, because we need to make sure that our people in the times of the lockdown get the chance to be brought or to get to the airport in order to be able to be flown out. And let me say also that this is not something that we intend to do for our German citizens. There's a lot of solidarity in the European Union. This is a community of destiny. So we would try through those means to bring out also as many of our European Union citizen compatriots as we can.
Ambassador, you say you're hoping to start on these repatriation proceedings by the end of the week. Do you have a time frame as to how long it could possibly take?
I wish I had. First of all, we have to get started, and in order to get started, we need to find reasonable rules that make it feasible for us and possible for us to have our citizens get to the airport. For that, we are in talks at the moment with the Department of Transport and certainly with the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. We have been told that this is going to be possible. We rely on that. But now it's about the details on how we're going to do that.
Ambassador, last week there were a group of German tourists here in Gauteng province, and one of them had tested positive, and they were all taken to the Charlotte Maxeke hospital. Do you know how many of these between 7,000 and 9,000 German citizens that you're hoping to repatriate have actually tested positive for COVID-19 at the moment?
Well, first of all, let me say what we are planning has nothing to do with the medical emergency. South African Airways and we have decided, and rightfully so, that people with symptoms of the coronavirus, people that have been tested positive, will not be able to return to Germany. They will have to seek treatment in South Africa and will have to stay here. We do have a number of Germans that have been tested positive, and that are either in quarantine or even in medical treatment in South Africa. And for the time being, there is no problem with access to your health facilities. For the time being, with the state of the spread of the virus, I think the health authorities and the health institutions in South Africa work well. Your health institutions, in many ways, have world-class standard. So we are not afraid of that. But we don't know how the virus develops. And as I said, in a cataclysm like this, it is better to be home. And let me say also that, if we manage to get our people out with the help of a reliable partner like South African Airways, we can also think, and we already do that, think about possibilities to get South Africans back home, because we know that there's a number of South African citizens stranded in Frankfurt, stranded in Munich. They are not allowed to enter the European Union because they are South Africans, and they sit in the transit area and have nowhere to go, neither back nor forth. So this would also be, I think, an opportunity for them to return safely home, because that is the human thing to do. And let me add furthermore that we will be in talks with South African Airways to see whether on the way back from Germany to South Africa after a repatriation flight, we can take on board some test kits, some equipment that is necessary to fight the spread of the virus.
And just in closing this particular conversation, Ambassador Schäfer, do you have any idea as to how many South Africans are stranded in Germany?
I can't give you a concrete figure. What my information is more or less from press sources. But I would believe that we have a small one-digit number of people that sit at airports in transit areas and have nowhere to go at this very moment. I will be in touch with my colleague, the South African ambassador in Berlin, after we have sorted out all the issues with the South African government, after we are sure that we have reasonable ways and means to get our people out of the country, and then of course we will use the open space we have on those aircraft when they come back from Germany to do something that is necessary and useful for us to help South Africa fight the spread of the virus, because we are in this together. We must not engage in nationalism. We have to look after the weakest and look after ourselves. This is the moment for solidarity and not for egoism.
Well, thanks so much for your time this morning, German Ambassador to South Africa, Martin Schäfer, and giving us a few more details about that repatriation effort of German tourists currently in South Africa, between 7,000 and 9,000 of them that they will be hoping to repatriate with the help of South African Airways.